J-Div is back at it, here to give everyone another Dexter New Blood episode review video. Before I get into that, though, pretty important, I was able to watch this episode early on the Amazon Showtime channel. So if you're not caught up to the point where I am and rewatching, you're watching Dexter New Blood, or you're just not entirely sure, then you definitely need to take the initiative and pay attention to the episode's title, which of course I'll mention, as well as put in the description for you. If that happens to be the case and you're not caught up, it would be my recommendation that you don't watch this video any further, simply to avoid any potential spoilers. This would be Dexter New Blood episode 6. The title of this episode is called Too Many Tuna Sandwiches. This will be my review, reaction, recap after just finishing watching the episode. And my apologies, this got uploaded a little later than I anticipated. Starts off with Harrison doing some of the outside chores that Dexter normally does. And Dexter is, of course, wanting to know why this is. And Harrison's like, well, Kurt told me to do this to make up for the issues that I've had. And he's pissed that Harrison wants to go work with Kurt, as he mentions that to him. And then Harrison tells Dexter he convinced him to do all the chores and you should thank him for that. Dexter wonders why Kurt has taken such an interest in Harrison. And then we see Kurt working on Chloe's deceased body, and he messes up something and gets really mad and starts punching or slamming his fist into the part that he had shot her in the eye. Something about the presence of the body and how it's presented, it messed him up, and he's really upset about that. Angela pulls Dexter over like she did in the first episode of this revival of sorts, and she says she wants the license and registration for Dexter Morgan. Oh shit. So she tells him to follow her to the station. Dexter tells Angela he was running from death. He dealt with death with Rita, his wife that was killed by a serial killer, and then his sister, his best friend, Deb, was also murdered. And they were too much for Dexter. He says he wanted to die when he drove his boat into the hurricane, but somehow he survived. And since he survived, he thought he was able to change and be somebody different. And Angela wonders how she can ever trust Jim or Dexter again. Kurt gives he's at the restaurant that he owns, and he gives a panhandler $200, possibly his next victim, but she ends up getting a ride with her boyfriend to Indiana, so he doesn't get a chance to do the evil deed with her. And then Kurt does indeed give Harrison the job, but he can't start on the date that Kurt wanted him to due to the fact that he has the wrestling match. And Dexter listens to Molly's podcast about the Bay Harbor Butcher that shows James Dokes. And then we have a brief scene with James Dokes. I think this was an older scene from the original Dexter series with Dokes going. Pretty funny stuff. Love James Dokes. One of my favorite characters in Dexter. He really is. I know some people don't like him, but I love James Dokes. Harrison and Dexter end up going to therapy, and there was a Hannah mention in this, which is always good to mention Hannah's name. The therapist quotes Magnolia, and Dexter says that he didn't see that one. I don't think Dexter's seen a lot of movies, just from what I know about him. Dexter makes a Harry reference, and then Harrison mentions that his mom was killed by a serial killer. Harrison says he feels abandoned here on this couch. Angela tells Logan about her suspicions of Kurt Caldwell. And then Angela is going to go to investigate the caves because that was the last place they were going to go before Kurt said, wait, I talked to my son Matt. He's fine. I had a FaceTime with him or whatever it was, FaceTime or something like that. I think it was a FaceTime. And she's going to go to the caves with Teddy since Logan is unavailable due to the wrestling match. And Dexter invites Logan out for a drink to try to patch things up with Angela and learn any inside information that she may have, as he thinks he's being investigated by Molly. Harrison goes to Audrey's to talk, and he talks about wanting to hurt everyone all the time, as he has a dark passenger as he was born in blood. And then Harrison and Audrey get it on. And then the next morning, Angela comes into Audrey's room, sees Harrison there in bed with her, and she is livid. It drops Harrison off at Dexter's house and says, "You need to do something about this now." And then Dexter asks Deb for advice, and Deb says she hopes they use protection as Dexter is not ready to be a grandfather. Did she say you're not in a position to be a grandfather? I don't remember precisely what it is. Must have been not ready because that's what I wrote down. And Kurt is inviting Molly out to the family cabin as Dexter is at the bar place, and they're sitting at the bar. He left his phone there to record the conversation. And Kurt's like, I tell you what, Molly, Matt is at my cabin. He wasn't in New York. And I'll let you talk to him, but you have to keep it between me and you. So they go out there, and Dexter ends up going out there as well. And as they're down there about to go into the room that Kurt keeps people in, that you can only open from the outside but not the inside, Dexter comes down there thinking and knowing Kurt is a fucking serial killer. This has serial killer written all over it. So Dexter's, I think, saves Molly. I believe that Kurt was going to potentially kill her or keep her there. It's possible. So and then Kurt, after they leave, gets really angry and punches a hole in the wall because I think he was upset that Dexter, of course, interrupted what he was potentially going to do with Molly. And then Dexter drops Molly off into town. I think they're maybe it's not that far away, but it seems like it might be. But he drops her off there, and then he affirms the fact that he knows that Kurt is a serial killer. And so Dexter goes to the wrestling match for Harrison. Kurt also shows up at the wrestling match. Angela, while she's in the cave, finds a body in the cave. She sees a leg, a foot with a boot on. And then Kurt tells Harrison, after one of the wrestlers had headbutted him during the match, use the anger that you have now in the wrestling match. And Angela, after investigating the body and seeing something on the wrist, has found Iris. She's certain of it, and she is devastated. And then during the match, Harrison does a judo throw, has the guy on his back, and he has him in his arm kind of in a precarious position. And then after he taps, Harrison breaks the arm of the other wrestler. And Dexter says that Harrison's dark passenger has made a public appearance, and that was pretty crazy. And then Dexter runs to the wrestling mat as Kurt is kind of embracing Harrison, and Dexter pushes him away. And what are you up to? Get away from my son. And Logan breaks them up and says, you two need to leave now, pointing to Dexter and Harrison. And that was interesting. And then Dexter trying to talk to Harrison at the school, and he gets a call from Angela. So he answers the phone. It's Jim, and she's like, I don't need Jim right now. I need Dexter Morgan while she's in the cave. And that's how the episode ends. So pretty interesting stuff. Some slow parts that kind of had me a little annoyed. I'm a little upset there was no Angel Batista in this episode. I don't think he's coming back. I think his appearance in the last episode was just only that particular appearance. So as far as a score of this particular episode, I'm going to give it a 9.0 out of 10 because it was interesting. It did move the story along. However, Dexter didn't kill anybody, which is always a plus. And then my character of the episode, I'm going to give it to Kurt Caldwell because we learned a lot about Kurt in this particular episode. I think that was interesting information. So you've heard what I have to say. Now, of course, it is your turn. If you're a fan of Dexter or Dexter New Blood, please make sure you smash that like button. If you like this review so much that you want to share this across all your social media platforms, by all means, you're more than welcome to do that. I'm not asking for you to do that, but if you want to, fine by me. Sound off in the comment section about your thoughts on this episode. What would you score this episode? And who would you say, of course, other than Dexter, would be the character of the episode? And of course, last but certainly not least, don't forget to hit that sub button. Try to grow the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Join the team. Show your damn support and be a part of something special. And JDev will return.